Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab. Today's podcast is IELTS Speaking Topic on Work.
It is fantastic to be here, and we're about to really unpack what is arguably the heavyweight champion of English proficiency exam.
We really are. We're doing a deep dive into the world of work. And, before anyone listening rolls their eyes thinking about their 9-to-5 grind and how much they want to clock off.
Which is fair enough.
It is. But let's be real for a second. This is one of the most universal, frequent, and just critical topics you will face in an exam setting.
Absolutely.
But we aren't just going to list vocabulary words today. We're going to deconstruct the psychology of the exam, the sociology of the modern workplace, and the specific linguistic tools you need to sound less like a textbook and more like a CEO.
That is the goal. I mean, we're aiming for a total transformation here. You see, most candidates, they approach this topic on autopilot.
Right. They think, I know about my job. I do it every day.
Exactly. So they relax. They lean back. And that is precisely where they start losing points. Our mission in this deep dive is to take you from that safe zone of basic English into the high-scoring territory of, professional fluency.
So let's start with the why. Why on earth does the examiner love the topic of work so much? I mean, aside from the fact that most adults do it, what's the strategic reason this topic shows up on almost every single exam?
It really comes down to what we call the universality factor. The examiner needs a topic that sort of acts as an equalizer.
An equalizer, okay.
Yeah. Whether you are a CEO of a multinational corporation, a barista at a local cafe, a university student who has never held a full-time job, or, someone currently looking for work.
You have a connection to it.
You have a relationship with the concept of labor. It completely removes the excuse of, I don't know anything about this.
Right. Which you might get with a topic like space exploration or 18th century art, where you could genuinely have nothing to say and just sit there in silence.
You've hit the nail on the head. But here's the trap. And it's a big one. Okay.
Because it feels so familiar, candidates often default to what I call robot mode.
Robot mode. I think I know what you mean.
They freeze up, or even worse, they use incredibly simple robotic language. They'll say, I go to office, I do work, I come home.
Yeah, it's grammatically correct, maybe, but it's linguistically dead. It has no pulse.
It has no soul. And more importantly for the exam, it just lacks range. It's completely flat.
Spot on. The topic of work is actually designed to test your range, isn't it? It lets the examiner see if you can slide up the scale.
That's it. Can you move from concrete nouns like desk and boss to more abstract concepts like career progression or workplace toxicity or economic instability?
Right.
That shift is where the band's 7, 8, and 9 scores live.
So the topic is essentially a ladder. And most people just stand on the bottom rung because they think they're just having a chat, when really they are being tested on their ability to climb. That is the perfect analogy. And today, we are going to climb that ladder together. We are going to break this down into the 3 specific parts of the speaking exam. We'll look at the common pitfalls that trip people up, and we'll open a treasure trove of vocabulary that will make you sound so much more sophisticated.
Okay, let's start at the beginning. Part 1, the warm-up phase. This is usually the first 4 to 5 minutes of the exam. What is the vibe here? Is it meant to be formal? Is it casual?
The strategy here is simple, but it's very often misunderstood. You need to be natural and, chatty.
Chatty is such an interesting word to use because in a formal exam, people tend to get so stiff. They sit up straight, put their hands on their knees, and act like they are in, a police interrogation.
And that is the death of a good score, honestly. Think of part 1 as chatting with a friendly stranger you just met at a coffee shop or maybe dinner party.
Okay.
If a stranger asked, do you work? And you just stare at them and said yes, it would be weird, wouldn't it?
Extremely weird. It shuts down the conversation immediately. It just makes you seem socially awkward.
Correct. So we apply the answer plus detail rule. This is the golden key for part 1. You must answer the question directly, and then you immediately add a specific detail about where, what, or why.
Let's role play this to show the difference. I'll be the examiner. Do you work or are you a student?
Okay, the bad answer. I work.
Okay, that's terrible. I'm bored already. I'm actually looking at my watch. Now give me the band 9 answer.
Yes, I'm currently working. I work as a marketing coordinator at a mid-sized tech company in my city. I've been in this role for about 2 years now, and I really enjoy it because every day brings something new.
Wow, that's a world of difference. You gave me the role marketing coordinator. You gave me the context mid-sized tech company. And you gave me a feeling enjoyment because of the variety.
And notice I didn't speak for 2 minutes. It was, 3 sentences? That's the sweet spot. You answer, you expand, and then you stop.
Okay, now let's address a huge demographic of our listeners, students. If I'm a student, I might feel like my answer is less valuable than a worker's. I feel like I need to apologize for not having a real job yet.
Not at all. The structure remains exactly the same. You just pivot the content.
So how would that sound?
You'd say, actually, I'm a student at the moment. I'm in my final year of university studying business administration, but I do have a part-time job at a local bookstore, which helps me earn some pocket money.
Pocket money. I love that idiom. It implies money for small personal expenses, not, paying the mortgage. It shows a really nice grasp of cultural nuance.
It paints a picture, and it shows you aren't just a student stuck in a library, you are actually engaging with the world.
Now, we have to talk about the tricky middle ground, the elephant in the room. What if a listener is between jobs? That can feel incredibly awkward to admit in an exam setting. I'm unemployed. It sounds so negative. It sounds like a failure.
It does, and unemployed is a very heavy word. You want to avoid defining yourself by what you lack. Instead, focus on the activity. Honesty is fine, but you have to frame it proactively.
Give us an example of that proactive framing. How do you spin unemployment into something positive?
You could say something like, well, I was working as an accountant until recently, but I decided to take a short break to focus on my exam preparation and explore new career opportunities. I'm planning to get back into the workforce soon, ideally in a more international role.
That is brilliant. You aren't jobless. You are exploring opportunities. You aren't lazy. You are focusing on preparation.
Language is all about framing. You control the narrative. You are the protagonist of your own story, not a victim of the economy.
Speaking of narrative, let's talk about describing the role itself. We all have this tendency to use the verb to do. I do marketing. I do sales. I do customer service.
I do is the enemy of a high score. It's so generic. It's the vanilla ice cream of verbs. You have to swap it out.
For what?
Instead, say, I'm responsible for, or my main role involves, or even I oversee.
Oversee is a power verb. It implies authority. It implies you are looking at the big picture.
It does. And we need to upgrade our adjectives too. If I ask you, is your job hard? And you just say, yes, it is hard, you are stuck at band 5.
So what do we swap hard with?
You could try demanding or challenging. It's a physically demanding role, or it's intellectually challenging. These words have so much more texture.
And what if the job is just boring?
Yeah.
We've all had those jobs. The ones where you're just watching the clock tick.
Monotonous or repetitive.
Monotonous. That is a great word. It sounds like the thing it describes, a flat line. Monotonous, just one tone.
You've got it. It paints a perfect picture of that daily grind. Now, here is a trap I've seen so many people fall into. The question, do you like your job?
Ha! The trap here is thinking you have to be fake, right? Thinking you have to lie and say, oh, I love it. It's the best thing ever. My boss is an angel.
That is the danger. Being too flat or being too fake. If you are an enthusiast, that's great. You can say no 2 days are the same or mention a supportive manager. But most people, they have mixed feelings, and that nuance is actually better for your score.
Because real life is complex. And expressing that complexity requires more complex grammar.
Exactly. We call this the mixed bag approach. You might say, I'd say it's a bit of a mixed bag. On one hand, I enjoy the creative aspects, but on the other hand, the deadlines can be draining.
Draining. That is such a powerful adjective. It means it just sucks the energy right out of you. And notice the structure there. On one hand, on the other hand, that is a classic cohesive device that examiners absolutely love.
It shows you can hold 2 opposing thoughts in your head at the same time and express them grammatically. That is advanced fluency.
What if you genuinely hate your job? Like you really detest it. Can you actually say that?
You have to be diplomatic. Never sound bitter. You are being tested on English, not on your grievances with your employer. You can use what we call the diplomatic negative, for example. To be honest, I don't feel I'm growing professionally anymore.
Oh, that is very professional. It shifts the blame from the bad company to your own need for growth. Sounds so much more mature.
It tells the examiner that you're ambitious, not just complaining.
Okay, let's hit some of the logistics questions that often come up in part 1. The commute. This has to be the most boring topic in the world. I take the bus. It takes 30 minutes. Snooze.
It is boring only if you let it be boring. Turn it into a micro story. I drive, and it's usually about 30 minutes, but rush hour is really frustrating, so I listen to podcasts to pass the time.
So suddenly you are sharing a habit, a feeling frustration, and a strategy podcast. You're not just giving a timeline.
Exactly. Add a habit to the logistics.
Then what about working hours?
You want to distinguish between standard hours and the reality. This is a great place to show cultural awareness of the modern workplace.
How so?
I have standard 9 to 5 hours, but I often end up staying late for deadlines. It introduces the concept of overtime or crunch time without you necessarily having to use those exact words.
Okay, what about the preference question? Working alone versus in a team. This feels like a personality test disguised as a language test.
It is, and there is no wrong answer, only wrong vocabulary. If you like teams, use phrases like, I thrive in collaborative environments.
Thrive. I like that. It implies you don't just survive, you grow, you bloom in that setting.
Precisely. And if you prefer solo work, talk about deep concentration and avoiding distractions. Don't just say, I hate people.
Right, bad move.
Say, I prefer an environment where I can focus deeply.
Thriving in collaborative environments. That sounds like something straight out of a LinkedIn bio in the best way possible.
It is the language of the modern workplace, and using it in the exam signals that you are ready for an English-speaking office.
All right, let's shift gears. We're moving on. Mastering part 2, the long turn.
The long turn. This is where you get a cue card with a topic, you have 1 minute to prepare, and then you have to speak for up to 2 minutes. This is usually where the panic sets in.
Why is this so scary for people? I mean, 2 minutes isn't that long when you're chatting with a friend.
It feels like an eternity when you're staring at a stranger. The panic comes from a lack of structure. That safety net of the other person asking you questions is gone. You are on stage alone. The silence is yours to fill.
So the framework is your life raft here.
Absolutely. You need a path, something simple like introduction, background, details, feelings or reasons, and then a conclusion. If you stick to that, you won't get lost. You won't just ramble.
Okay, let's look at some specific case studies to see how this plays out. We have 5 different types of work stories here. First up, the dream job. The example here is a UX designer.
This is a great model because it mixes passion with a technical description. The speaker talks about stumbling upon the field on YouTube.
Stumbling upon. That's a great phrasal verb. It means finding something by accident, which sounds so much more natural.
It does. That's the background. Then they detail the skills. They describe it as a mix of creative and analytical.
I like the specific vocabulary used there. Visual design, layout, typography. Even if you aren't a designer, knowing those specific field-related words really helps. But then they pivot to the why. It's not just about making things pretty, it's about making life easier for users.
And that is the key takeaway. You are blending a technical description with a very human motivation. It makes the story compelling. If you are an engineer, don't just talk about circuits. Talk about how your circuits help people.
Okay, case study number 2, the useful job. The focus here is on nursing.
This is a classic unsung hero answer. The phrase unsung heroes is gold here. It refers to people who do great work but receive very little praise or recognition. It immediately sets a tone of respect.
And they anchor it with a personal connection, an aunt.
Using a family member grounds the story. It prevents you from speaking in generalities. Instead of just saying, nurses work hard, you say, my aunt works 12-hour shifts. It allows you to describe the reality of the job so vividly. The physical stamina, the empathy.
And the speaker makes a profound point. Nurses bridge the gap between doctors and patients.
Bridging the gap, that's a fantastic collocation. It shows you understand the nuance of the role. The doctor diagnoses, but the nurse is the one who translates that into actual care.
It lifts the answer from just a job description to a societal observation.
That's where the high marks are.
Let's talk about people. Sometimes the card isn't describe a job, it's describe a person you work with. Case study 3 is describing a colleague. Let's call her Priya.
So Priya is the ideal colleague. The model answer here focuses on specific traits. She has a positive attitude during brutal deadlines. And note the adjective brutal. Not just tight deadlines, but brutal. It implies pain.
Oh, I feel that. We've all had those moments where we just want to cry into the desk.
And Priya is the one who keeps you sane. She is competent, no excuses. And she's willing to share knowledge, like teaching Photoshop. This answer works because it isn't just she is nice, it provides actual evidence of her niceness.
Show, don't just tell.
That's the secret sauce right there.
Okay, case study 4. A busy time at work. This is a narrative one. It asks for a specific event.
This requires a timeline. You need those sequence markers. At first, then, consequently, finally. The scenario here is the fiscal year end, a classic stress point in the corporate world, and colleagues are on sick leave.
The action verbs here are great. Juggling a dozen balls, creating priority lists, waking up early. Juggling is such a visual metaphor for multitasking.
And the emotional arc is crucial. It moves from feeling exhausted and overwhelmed to a sense of accomplishment and pride. You are taking the examiner on a journey from stress to success.
Right. If you just complain about being busy, it's a depressing story. But if you overcome the busyness, it's a hero's journey. Finally, case study 5. The travel journalist fantasy. This is for the dreamers. The question might be, describe a job you would like to do in the future.
This is about describing a non-traditional path. You need words like adaptability and curiosity. The why is beautiful here, combining two passions, writing and travel.
It connects the personal passion to the professional output.
Correct. And it shows you can discuss abstract desires, not just concrete realities. You are using conditional tenses here. If I could choose, it would allow me to. That grammar scores very high points.
Okay, now we are going to dive deep. Part 3 of the exam, the analysis and opinion phase. This is where the training wheels really come off.
Part 3 is where the examiner stops being your friend and starts being an interviewer. They will ask broad, abstract questions. You need to demonstrate critical thinking. You need to have opinions on the world, not just on your own life.
Let's look at theme A, salary versus satisfaction. The age-old debate, is money everything?
Well, the model answer here is balanced. It acknowledges the necessity of financial security for a comfortable standard of living. You can't just ignore that. If you say money doesn't matter, you sound naive.
Sure.
But then it contrasts it with the mental health toll of a despised job.
Right. It talks about finding the sweet spot, that balance between meaning and money.
A sophisticated answer acknowledges the tension between the two. You might say, while passion is vital, financial stability is really the foundation of well-being. It's hard to be passionate when you can't pay your rent.
That is a very grounded, very realistic perspective. Okay, theme B is huge right now, the impact of technology.
We have to look at both sides of this coin. The positives are obvious. Remote work, Zoom, Slack, efficiency in data entry. But if you stop there, you are only scratching the surface.
The negatives are where the vocabulary gets really interesting, the blurred line between work and life.
Being on call 24/7, the concept of the right to disconnect, burnout. And the fear of job displacement AI replacing routine jobs. This is a very relevant, high-level discussion. If you can use terms like job displacement or automation anxiety, you're showing real awareness.
It shows you're paying attention to the world, not just your own desk, which leads directly into theme C, work-life balance.
Here we discuss hustle culture versus working to live.
Hustle culture. That's the idea that you should always be working, always grinding 24/7, right?
Yes, and the backlash against it. The argument here is kind of counterintuitive to some. Well-rested employees are actually more productive.
And who is responsible for that balance? Is it the company or the person?
It's shared. The employer needs to set policies, of course, but the individual must set boundaries. Using the word boundaries here is excellent. I need to set strict boundaries with my email.
Theme D is a serious one. The gender pay gap.
Now, in an exam context, you want to be clear and structured. The stance is usually unequivocal support for equal pay, but simply saying it's wrong is not enough.
You need to analyze why the gap still exists to get the score.
Exactly. You talk about things like structural representation, unconscious bias, or the glass ceiling.
The glass ceiling. Can you define that for our listeners?
It's a metaphor for an invisible barrier that prevents a certain demographic, usually women or minorities, from rising beyond a certain level in a hierarchy. They can see the top, but they just can't break through.
That is a powerful image.
Using these high-level academic terms helps, and the solution involves things like government legislation and corporate transparency. You are essentially solving a world problem in 4 sentences.
Theme E, the future of work. What jobs are going to stick around?
We are looking at growth areas, tech, obviously AI, cybersecurity, green jobs, sustainability, but also human-centered roles.
Counseling, care, teaching. The stuff machines can't really do.
Because machines lack empathy. That is the core argument. Also, you should mention adaptability. The idea that jobs existing in 20 years might not even have names today.
Yeah, I mean, who was a social media manager in 1995?
Nobody. Or a drone operator. That's a real job now.
It is.
Precisely. So the skill of the future isn't just coding or typing, it's learning how to learn.
Finally, theme F, job hopping. versus loyalty.
This is the shift from the lifer, someone who stays for 40 years, to the strategic mover.
Right. Moving gives you new skills and usually salary bumps.
But staying offers deep expertise and specific benefits, especially in government or academia. Again, the key is to show both sides. On one hand, moving broadens your horizons. On the other hand, staying builds institutional memory.
Institutional memory. That's a great phrase. It means knowing the history of the company, knowing where the bodies are buried, so to speak.
I couldn't have put it better myself.
Okay, let's head into the laboratory. Section 5, the language lab. We need to equip our listeners with the specific tools to build these sentences.
Let's trade some definitions. I'll give you a concept, you give me the word.
Let's do it. Game on.
Okay. The person who is the main earner in a family, the one paying the bills.
The breadwinner, as in, my father was the sole breadwinner in our family.
Correct. The series of steps you take to move up in a company.
That's the career ladder. And we usually say climbing the career ladder.
Good. The extra benefits you get, like a gym membership, a company car, or free lunch.
Those are perks. Everyone loves a perk. But you shouldn't confuse perks with benefits, which are usually the more serious things like health insurance. Perks are the fun stuff.
That's a very good distinction. And finally, all the workers in a company or a country, collectively.
That would be the workforce. Or you could also say the labor force.
Excellent. Now let's upgrade some adjectives. Stop saying good.
Okay, instead say rewarding, fulfilling, or stimulating. For example, my job is financially rewarding.
Stop saying boring.
Say monotonous, repetitive, or tedious. Tedious is a really good one for something like data entry.
Stop saying a job is rich or pays well.
Say it is lucrative. That's a very classy word. A lucrative career in finance.
And for practical work, where you aren't just sitting at a desk all day.
That's hands-on. I prefer hands-on work, like engineering or nursing.
Now, idioms, these are the spice of the language. Burn the midnight oil.
That means working late into the night. It comes from the old days when you literally had to burn oil lamps to see in the dark. It implies really hard work.
Call it a day.
To stop working. I'm exhausted. Let's call it a day. It's what you say when you leave the office.
Pull your weight.
To do your fair share. If you are on a team and you aren't working hard, you aren't pulling your weight. You're a slacker.
Learn the ropes.
Learning the basics of a new job. I think it comes from sailing, right? Learning which rope pulls which sail on a ship.
You are absolutely right. And a dead-end job.
That's a job with no progression, no career ladder, just wall. You want to avoid those if you can.
Let's flex some grammar. To really impress, you should use conditionals.
If I had the opportunity, I would. It shows you can handle hypothetical situations. This is so crucial for the dream job question.
And the passive voice. Instead of, they promoted me, try saying, I was promoted. It sounds more formal and objective. It puts the focus on the action, not on the boss.
And hedging. This is a sophisticated one.
It is. It's about sounding academic. So instead of saying, this is true, you say, I tend to think that, or it could be argued that. It softens your assertion and it shows maturity. It shows you know your opinion isn't the only truth in the world.
Okay, watch your step now. We are entering section 6, the trap room. These are the mistakes that just scream student and will cap your score at a 6.
The number one error, without a doubt, is work versus job.
Break it down for us.
Job is countable. You have a job. You can have 2 jobs. Work is uncountable. It is the general activity.
So you should never ever say, I'm looking for a new work.
Never. That sounds very unnatural. You should say, I'm looking for a new job or have a lot of work to do. You can't have a lot of works.
Unless you're an artist talking about your works of art. But in a business context, no.
Correct. Okay, trap number 2, temporary versus permanent.
This is all about tenses, isn't it?
It is. If you say, I am working as a teacher, the present continuous implies it is temporary, like you are just doing it for the summer. If it is your career, you should say, I work as a teacher. The simple present.
That is such a subtle but huge difference.
Yeah.
I am working. Sounds like you have one foot out the door. I work. Sounds committed.
And the final trap, fluency versus memorization.
This is the robot problem again.
The examiner knows. They can tell. If you sound like a robot reciting a script, your score will drop. They will interrupt you on purpose to see if you can handle it. Learn phrases, learn chunks of language, but do not memorize entire paragraphs. You have to be ready to pivot.
We are in the home stretch. Section 7, final training tips. How do we actually practice all of this?
I want to introduce the T method. It stands for thought, explanation, and example. TE.
This is how you expand your answers,
All
right?
right.
So you don't just give a one-sentence reply.
Correct. Give your thought. That's the main point. Explain why you think that, and then give a real-life example.
So if the question is it good to work from home? Don't just say yes.
Exactly. Say, I think working from home is beneficial, that's the thought, because it eliminates the stress of commuting. That's the explanation. For example, I save 2 hours a day that I can now spend on exercise. That's the example.
That is a perfect, complete package. And what if your mind goes blank? It happens to the best of us in an exam.
You need to buy time. Have some stock phrases ready to go. That's an interesting question. Or, off the top of my head, or I haven't really thought about that before, but
It gives your brain those crucial few seconds to catch up. And it's so much better than silence. And it's definitely better than a long
definitely. And finally, some practical drills. Build a vocabulary bank. Use a timer, be strict, 2 minutes for part 2, and record yourself.
Oh, hearing your own voice is painful. Nobody likes doing that.
It is painful, but it is so necessary. You will hear your ums and your grammar slips. And try to think in English during your workday. Just narrate what you were doing. I am typing this report. I am sending this email. It builds fluidity.
So, to recap our journey today, we started with simple questions about your daily life, and we climbed all the way up to complex societal debates about the future of humanity and work.
We did. We covered the logistics, the storytelling, and the analysis.
And remember, preparation is all about confidence. It's not just about memorizing big words like lucrative or monotonous. It's about knowing you have the tools to express your own reality.
Absolutely. You have the experience. Now you have the language to match it.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of work. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel.
Good luck with your preparation.
See you next time.